Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Real View podcast. I'm your host, Allison Wiley. With me today is our very special guest, no stranger to the Ohio Realtor family, a beloved realtor who has done so much for our industry and so much for our association. Sue Lusk-Leach, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Allison. I'm excited to be here. It's the first time I've ever done a podcast.
Well, welcome. We're excited to have you and excited to dive into your life and learn a little bit more about you. Sue and I were chatting just before we started recording, and she said that it's been 45 years that she's been in this industry, which is amazing.
Full time.
Amazing. So we can't wait to hear how you did it, how you found success, telling us your story. So excited to get into that. But before we do that, I have to ask our signature question, which we ask all of our guests on the Real View podcast, which is, what is the best view that you've ever seen?
That is a great question. I come from a military family, so I've had the advantage of living all over the world. There's actually two events that are stuck in my mind in Technicolor that when I think about views and things like that. And the first was in 1960. We were living in Hawaii, and my parents took us to the Big Island for Christmas, and Kilauea Iki erupted. We stood on the ridge and watched this volcano erupt. I mean, it was unbelievable, the power, the fire, the devastation that something like that can cause. And the second thing that I remember really vividly is in 1983, the first night shot was shot off for the space shuttle down in Florida. My folks lived close to it, so we were on the Indian River outlet waiting for the first night shot. And it's unbelievable how powerful something like that is. And it's pitch black outside, and that shuttle takes off, and it's broad daylight.
Wow.
And then you feel the earth shaking. So those are two of my most vivid view memories.
How do you top that? I feel like that's not something that you see every day, as a rocket exploding into space. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, at night.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. How do you pick between those two? I love that you gave both, because I don't know how I would pick between those two.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. So cool. Well, thanks for sharing it. I have asked this question to every guest we've had on, and I've never heard a volcano exploding, and I've never heard a rocket taking off. So very cool, unique answers. So thanks for sharing that with us. So let's get into the show. Tell us a little bit about you. Like I said, I know you are no stranger to the Ohio Realtor family. Most of our listeners know who you are, know all the amazing stuff you did for our association. But for those of you that are new to the podcast and new to Ohio Realtors, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, how did you get started in real estate? Was this something that you knew you wanted to do, from day one? Tell us about you and your story.
Well, I never had real estate on my radar as a profession. I moved to Columbus in 1970, and I took a corporate job in an accounts receivable department for a gasoline firm here, and I hated the job. I was over 12 women. The management, it was just terrible. I was a single mom, and I just couldn't keep doing it. So I had recently bought a house, and I talked to the broker that I bought it from, and I said, tell me about this profession of real estate. And I knew nothing about it. I mean, I had just barely bought a house.
Wow.
And she's like, oh, I think you'd be really good at it. And I'm like, oh, why do you say that? So she's the one that got me started, and all I wanted was out of that corporate job. I bounced into real estate, and fortunately, I found my niche. I found my fit. And I don't know how to do anything else anymore after 45 years. So I couldn't change professions if I wanted to.
No, that's awesome. So you kind of stumbled into it after not wanting to do the corporate life anymore. And, I've heard that before too, the 9 to 5, corporate life isn't for people. And one of the things that is so great about real estate is the flexibility that it gives and the hours. And, you mentioned being a single mom. And was that kind of part of the reason you loved real estate so much, is that it gave you that flexibility as you were, raising a family?
Well, my initial thought going into real estate was that I would have that flexibility, right? But when you're new in the business, as we all know, you can work any 80 hours a week you want. It depends on the level of success you want to have in the business and your why. My big why was I had a son to raise. I needed to feed him. I needed to send him to schools that I wanted him to go to. And so I had a huge why starting out.
Yeah, and that's important. And the podcast that was on last week kind of talks about finding your why and how that keeps you going in a day-to-day basis. Yes, you're doing it to, like you said, pay bills and stuff, but really you're doing it for your child and to provide that life for him. So tell us a little bit about, starting out, like you mentioned, working hard. How are you able to find 45 years in this career? And which is something that I think is rare nowadays. We hear so much of individuals switching jobs and switching, professions. So the fact that you've done this and stuck with it and have found great success with it, for this long, tell us your secrets. Tell us how you did it. And what advice would you give to realtors or agents starting out who kind of want to do this for the rest of their life, like similar to you?
I think the first thing you have to realize is you don't do this alone. You have no success by yourself. You have mentors along the way. You surround your people that lift you up and make a difference in your life. And I'll just share a quick story. When I started, I lived in Clintonville, so I started in a smaller niche community, and I was surrounded by amazing realtors from all companies, not just the brokerage I was working for. And they knew I was new. I could ask them any question and they lifted me up. They helped me. I think that's the biggest lesson I took away in the beginning is if you can't make a difference to your fellow peers and your community, and that's the biggest thing that all those people taught me. And it kind of formed the foundation of how I would move ahead. The integrity was so high with these people, and they didn't care that you were with a different company. They just helped you.
And that's something, I think is so cool about the real estate industry is that, we do compete so much against each other. And you think, I'm competing with this agent for this listing. But really, when it comes down to it, we're all working together to fulfill this American dream idea. And I love hearing that, despite that, yes, you're in competition and these are, your competitors and who you're working against, you're also working together. And I think that that's really cool about this industry.
Yeah, the Paul Loves, the Paul Mays of the world, Mary Jane Carr. I mean, they were just Max Holzer. These are all old names. And there wasn't one of them. If you picked the phone up and called them, they wouldn't help you.
I know that that's something you've carried throughout your business, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit with some of the things that you've done for this association and bringing some life-changing programs to this. So you can tell that it's really been a part of you and how you've carried yourself in your business throughout your whole life. So I think that's really great, and you can tell that you try to give back and do the same for realtors now, too.
Yeah, I think people hadn't tapped me on the shoulder and lifted me up, I think I'd still be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I found joy. There's great joy in this business for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, tell us about that. I'd love to hear, what's kept you motivated, what's kept you going all these years kind of after you got started and after you had those people helping you along. What's kept you going?
I'm really not sure. I just like solving problems, helping resolve issues, brainstorming, collaboration. All those things are really important to me. Just making a difference in your communities and your association with your peers, in your offices. I just find great joy in doing that. And helping people grow their business. I do a lot of that inside my office, and I just love watching them grow. I think this new generation of realtors or people that are coming into the business now, the most exciting part to me is they look at things a lot differently than I do, right? We still all essentially do the business the same way with the same tools, but how they utilize them just absolutely fascinates me. And I learn so much from them.
And that keeps you going.
Isn't that cool?
That's awesome. And it's almost like you get to continue, this is something you're not new in by any means, but it's still new. You're still learning something every day.
Every day. And the day I quit learning is the day I quit this job.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations. And that's another thing that's so important, I think, is to always keep learning. And I mean, I love that you're so far into this, but yet there's still something that you're taking away and learning and applying on a day-to-day basis.
Every day. I love it. I mean, I had a real estate team for over 30 years and that I built and grew my group, the Columbus team. And 2 years ago, I turned the reins over to two young people who had been with me, one with 20 years in the business, one 14 years. And it is amazing what they have done with our team. And now I'm working for them and I love it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So I was going to ask, what's next? Like, what are your plans for the future? What are your plans for the career? No slowing down. You're in this for life. What's next?
I am working for them now, which I love. I don't have any management responsibilities. So I can go away in the winter for 2 months if I want. And I have a team behind me supporting me and allowing me that freedom. I have a huge database. I love all my clients. I'm just not ready to stop working. I'm not sure what I would do if I quit.
I love that. No, I have both parents, my mom and my dad, are recently retired and they're already bored. And I'm like, you guys, when you meet people who fall in love with their career and are so good at what they do, you want to keep doing it. It's not necessarily work anymore. Is that something that you found too, that it's just been a part of your life?
I don't want to spend the 70 hours doing it. I want to back off. I don't have to sell as much as I used to. It comes easier to me. And you can do so much remotely now. Mm-hmm. Now, it's still a hyper-local business. I can handle a lot of things when I'm away in North Carolina for 2 months. I just can't show the houses, but I have people here that can.
Absolutely.
And the business can still go on. I just want that time to be with family and friends and spend extra time doing things that maybe I missed through the years.
And you deserve that. You've definitely, given a lot, so you deserve to have that bit of fun with your beloved ones. But one of the things that you have given so much this industry with is just being involved on so many different levels. You were involved with your local association. You've been involved at Ohio Realtors. Talk to us a little bit about why you decided to get involved and what was the motivator behind that.
I had a broker, Mary Jane Carr, my very first broker. I mean, from right out of the gate, you participated in the PAC. You joined a committee at your local association. There was no question. That was just part of what you do. And the value of that is obviously the networking and knowing people. And then I've sort of found my niche. I served on a lot of different committees, but I really found my niche. I love politics. I love the PAC. I love leadership. I love the topic of leadership and that sort of thing. So I sort of found my niche. And then I was asked to go through the chairs at Columbus Realtors, and I was president in 2010. At the local, which was a great honor. But I always believe you leave things better than you found them, or you bring something. And I'm also a solution person. People complain all the time, but they never bring a solution to the table. And I thought, what has been the big issue that we've dealt with over the years in the association? And it was volunteers, having people do the work. The same people over and over were doing the work. And I'm like, what can we do to engage more people and bring value to them? And that's when I came up with the idea of a leadership academy. So I started researching when I was in the chairs, who had leadership academies around the country. It was shocking. There were not many.
Wow.
Realtor associations that had leadership academies. But I had heard about Scottsdale, Arizona having one, so I contacted them. And there were few states that had them and a few locals, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. I researched, I gathered all the material. I had to wait till I was through the president part to even begin to embark upon this journey of creating a leadership academy. So as soon as I was done as president, I selected a group of like-minded realtors and peers. I shared my vision. I asked them to stay on board, help us launch this, because we never do anything by ourselves, right?
Right.
Somebody brings the idea, and it's the masses that make it great. They hung in with me. We developed a program. It took us 9 months. We launched it, and 10 years later, we have 120 graduates. We have more engaged members. They are tapping people on the shoulder and inviting them in. And I think our associations are more vibrant and live today because of these types of things. And then in 2015, Gloria Cannon was one. This is a sample of tapping people on the shoulder. So Gloria was one of the ones I tapped to help create my vision at Columbus Realtors. Then she, in turn, when we brought the idea that more locals were wanting to develop a leadership academy and they wanted a model. Scott Williams and Paul Glass, they were the ones then. They tapped Gloria. Gloria said, "You're coming with me." Off we went. And in 2016, the Orla was founded and had their very first class. And now we've had 60 graduates at Orla. And the end result is these people would have never found the Ohio Association of Realtors. They would have never gotten as engaged. We have amazing talent coming out of our academies. Amazing, amazing talent. And it's so fun and exciting to watch them grow, watch their leadership. I love following them.
No, it's so true. And I had on an Orla graduate, Ann Blair. She joined me on an episode a couple months ago, and definitely check that episode out for those of you listening who haven't already. And you can tell the passion that that program has brought to her life. And it's life-changing. It's so invigorating to our realtors' careers and in their personal lives too. And I think that's one of the things that is so cool about this program is not only is it helping our realtors reach a new level of success in their business, but it's changing who they are and it's changing how they're approaching day-to-day life. And was that something that you kind of brought into when you were creating this program? Did you want to have kind of the personal life-changing effect that it has now too? Or what was
that was one of our goals. Our goal truly was to build community leaders, not necessarily in the association. Obviously, our hope was they would become engaged in that, but we are community advocates as realtors, and our reach is really broad, right? If we can help them find their voice in whatever they have a passion about, wow, that's amazing. These are not just classes. This is an experience. It's a game changer, I think. I've been privileged to sit through many of the classes, both at the local level where we founded and created that one, and then at the state level. It really is an experience. It's a game changer.
Yeah, and for those who may not know what the Ohio Realtors Leadership Academy, or ORLA, is, tell us a little bit about what is it, what goes into it, how can our realtors be a part of it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's 5 sessions over the year, and they are overnight sessions, so they're 2-day sessions. It's about personal growth, knowing who you are, knowing how to apply that leadership wherever it is that you want to do it. I don't care if it's in your local PTA. I mean, you're a community advocate as a realtor. Wherever you choose to lead is fine with us.
Just do it. Just find somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think leaders have to be good followers too. I think our job as leaders is to create other leaders. Go out and find those other people and let them lead, and sit back and watch them grow.
And it's fun, right? It's fun to see,
amazing.
Someone that you bring along and watching them flourish and find success. It brings so much gratitude, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
very, very rewarding and a very cool thing to witness. So I have to also talk about you winning our Mary Pollock Award, the Ohio Realtors Mary Pollock Award, now in its 3rd year, I want to say. I think 2019 was the first year that we awarded this. It is presented to a deserving Ohio realtor who has gone above and beyond the call of duty on behalf of the profession, someone who performs the hard, necessary work to move the organization forward without seeking accolade or spotlight. And you were our 2021 winner, presented at convention this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us.
It's a very humbling honor. There are so many people that give to our association. To be selected is an honor. That's all I can say, because our association's made up of so many fabulous realtors, affiliates that bring so much to the table. So to be selected is really an honor.
Tell us about what that was like. Were you surprised? I mean, when they called your name on stage at convention, what was going through your mind?
I'm sorry to say that I was talking to my neighbor in the seat next to me, and I wasn't paying a lot of attention to that. And all of a sudden I heard my name. So I was a little shocked. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Only to learn that there were others around me that knew about it, including my husband. So this is the funny story. So you know how we had to have that clear app on our phone and stuff. So apparently Stephen had called my husband or emailed him and wanted him to come to that. Well, my husband's not very techy. Okay. And he tried to figure this app out. He tried to get friends to figure it out, and he couldn't figure it out. And he finally emailed Stephen back and he said, I can't figure this out. I'm not coming.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
I know.
That's so funny. Well, I'm sure he was there in spirit and there cheering you on and celebrating when you returned back home. That's so funny.
I know a lot of people don't know who Mary Pollock was. I didn't know her for many years. I saw her, but I didn't personally know her. She was like this Energizer bunny. When she had a passion, she made a difference in our industry. And to watch her from afar and then get to know her and how tirelessly she worked for our associations and her local and the state level. And honestly, it's great to serve on committees at NAR and that sort of thing. But I think we make our greatest impact is on our local and state level. It's in our backyard, right?
It is. And, I hear you describing Mary and who she was, and I'm thinking well, this is you. This is you too. So it is such a fitting award, and you were so deserving to receive that award. And you are such a value and an asset to Ohio Realtors. I mean, the work and time and energy and effort and resources that you've put into this organization, I mean, it's going to have a lasting impact for years and years and years to come. And we cannot thank you enough for your service service and all that you've done for Ohio Realtors.
It's been a joy.
Yes. Well, you're amazing. Keep rocking it. Congratulations on 45 years of success in the real estate industry. Can't wait to see what you're going to do next because, like you said, you are not done. So I'm sure that there are many, many amazing things ahead for you. But once again, thank you so much for all you do for our industry. Thanks for bringing along future leaders in our association. And thanks for making real estate a strong and amazing profession.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thanks for joining me on this podcast. I was really excited and thrilled to have you on and get to talk to you because you are such a big leader in our industry. So this was an honor for me and an honor for our listeners, I'm sure, too. So thanks for joining me. To all of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Humble Pod production.